Beginning with my friend Pashaura Singh, who also holds a distinguished endowed chair in Sikh Studies at the University of one of my sister campuses, at the University of California at Riverside. Pashaura, we're delighted to have you.
Good morning. First of all, I must congratulate Dr. Narinder Singh Kapani for the excellent program that we witnessed yesterday. And I wish him long, long life. And we will be able to celebrate Diamond Jubilee of Sikh Foundation with Dr. Kapani. Thank you very much. In 1970s, Mark Juergensmeyer lamented the lack of scholarly attention given to Sikhism, calling it the forgotten tradition. Sikhism was often regulated to a passing reference in textbooks on Eastern religions. Part of the reason for this early paucity of scholarly attention was that there were few universities in North America who offered any course on the Sikhs. Times have changed. The increasing scholarly attention that Sikhs and Sikhism are beginning to receive is a new phenomenon in the academy. Indeed, Sikh studies is no longer the forgotten tradition of late 70s of 20th century and is becoming increasingly recognized in undergraduate programs. The early 21st century continues to be a very exciting time for the field of Sikh studies. Within the last 2 decades, scholars have begun to question prevailing approaches to the study of Sikhism in both the West and India itself, to the point that this least examined and perhaps most misunderstood of South Asia's religions and cultural traditions is now an established part of curricula and scholarly programs across North America. There are 7 academic chairs within the United States and 1 in Canada. In addition, there are growing numbers of scholars in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Europe in other positions whose teaching and research interests are either centrally or partially related to Sikh studies. It should therefore elicit little surprise that the undergraduate and graduate courses in Sikh studies, particularly Sikh history and religion, have increased dramatically in this period. A rise which corresponds in part to Sikh immigration into Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. A new generation of scholars have emerged to engage with the Sikh tradition, and there has been a steady growth of scholarly literature teaching resources on Sikhism in the last 2 decades. Not only have textbooks on Asian or Eastern religions included distinct chapters on Sikhism, but there has been a burgeoning of introductory textbooks on Sikhism and the Sikhs. These textbooks reflect and support a wide variety of pedagogical approaches to teaching Sikh traditions. I teach Sikhism to a diverse body of students coming from different cultural and ethnic backgrounds. University of California, Riverside is the most diverse campus in the nation. Right at the outset, I address the distinction between the pulpit and podium approaches in the study of and teaching about Sikhism. Then I stress the importance of the context. The development of the religious life of the early Sikh community cannot be understood in itself, but only in the context of the religious universe of North India, in whose history it was an active participant. This was the religious universe marked by a lively interaction and debate between different groups. Thus, the Sikh tradition which developed from Guru Nanak's teachings, was faced with the problem of defining itself over against the existing and known religious traditions in the Punjab, namely Hindu, Muslim, particularly Sufi or Nath traditions. Throughout his works, Guru Nanak made a very clear distinction between his own teachings and practices and the teachings and practices of other religious traditions. A careful study of his works reveals his thorough familiarity with the religious texts, beliefs, and practices of other traditions. In his critique of these traditions lies his quest for self-definition. Thus, Guru Nanak articulated Sikh subjectivity in relation to other religious and cultural traditions. My course begins with the examination of the formation of early Sikh tradition in the socio-religious context of North India and ends with a discussion of Sikh traditions beyond the Indian subcontinent. My pedagogy combines contesting perspectives with the living experience of Sikhs in North America. I encourage active student participation through class discussions, group presentations, book reviews, and a field trip to a local Gurudwara. My students learn how Guru Nanak's spiritual message became the principal motivating factor in the process of institutionalization. A distinctive Sikh identity was reinforced with the introduction of distinctly Sikh liturgical practices, ceremonies, holy sites, and the compilation of an authoritative scripture. Interaction between Sikh and non-Sikh students becomes quite lively in the class discussions. In particular, students take keen interest in the making of the prototype of the Sikh scripture in 1604 when they see the photographs of early manuscripts that illuminate the redaction process. They frequently remark that here we are dealing with solid evidence rather than understanding the process of canon formation on the basis of conjectures or hypotheses. They also learn that diverse groups from both urban and rural backgrounds comprised the Sikh Panth. Sikh community self-consciousness was heightened by the in-group conflict created by dissidents and slanderers. The successful resisting of the challenges posed by this internal conflict involved a heightened loyalty on the part of those who adhered to the mainline tradition. My students further learn the impact of external conflict with Mughal authorities on the evolution of early Sikh tradition. Thus, the conflict created within the Sikh Panth by both internal and external forces originally worked to counter and then paradoxically to enhance the process of crystallization of the Sikh tradition. The inauguration of the Khalsa by the 10th Guru Gobind Singh was the culmination of this process in the development of the Sikh tradition. The most visible symbols of the Sikh faith are mandatory to the Khalsa. Before he passed away in 1708, Guru Gobind Singh terminated the line of human gurus and installed the Ad Granth as the eternal Guru for the Sikhs, giving another title for the Sikh scripture as the Guru Granth Sahib. This is a unique phenomenon in the history of comparative scriptures. My students frequently raise the issue of gender equality in the Sikh tradition. They realize the gap between the egalitarian teachings of the gurus and the real situation within the Sikh community. Sikh institutions are largely dominated by men, and Sikh women are still subject to patriarchal cultural assumptions. Even so, Sikh women have been asserting themselves with growing success in recent years. The most contentious issue revolves around the question of what it means to be a Sikh. There are multiple Sikh identities to be encountered in the real world. There are Khalsa Sikhs who represent the normative Sikh tradition. Then there is a large majority of Kesari Sikhs who follow the most of the Khalsa code, even though they have not been initiated into the Khalsa tradition. Again, there are less observant, clean-shaven Sikhs who are in majority in the diaspora. The Punjabi Sikhs and newly converted white Sikhs in North America make contesting assertions of Sikh identity. The Sikh Panth has never been monolithic or homogeneous, and it continues to encompass colorful diversity. There is an urgent need to explore new ways of knowing the past and complement historical data with ethnographic study that can illuminate the lived experience of Sikh community. When we talk about what the future holds for the global Sikh community, there's only one thing that is certain. There are always going to be multiple understandings of Sikhs, Sikh traditions, and Sikh identities. This has always been the case in the past. This is very true in the present, and it will remain so in the future. Once this fact is incorporated into the Sikh community's dominant truth, its future will begin to arrive. Let me now give you my research and professional activities. My monograph, Life and Work of Guru Arjan, History, Memory, and Biography in the Sikh Tradition, was published by the Oxford University Press in a highly significant year, 2006, being the 4th centenary of his martyrdom. Unsurprisingly, it was on the bestsellers list in India. It's an ambitious study of a highly influential period of Sikh history during which the complex process of crystallization of the Sikh tradition reached a significant milestone. It follows a multidisciplinary paradigm in the reconstruction of Guru Arjan's life based upon history, memory, tradition, and mythic representation. Guru Arjan is so culturally pervasive that writing about him means writing about culture. The reconstruction of his life therefore offers a window to look into not only the particular dynamics of Sikh history and culture, but also into the larger question of a rapidly changing landscape of religion and culture in Mughal India. The book on Guru Arjan was received very well in the Sikh circles. The late Dr. Amrik Singh and Dr. Mohinder Singh took me to dinner at India International Center in Delhi to celebrate its timely publication. And I also started teaching graduate seminar at UCR in 2007. This was my first batch of students. On the left is Charles Townsend, and he has graduated now, and he has got a very handsome appointment in Chicago College as associate professor, right at that level. And it's a great achievement. So I also organized the first major conference in Sikh Studies in 2008, Sikhism in Global Context. The participants focused on Sikh life thought as a global community. The plenary session was attended by 70 people. It was a great success. A bunch of selected papers from this conference were edited for publication by the Oxford University Press in 2011. The second conference was organized on reimagining South Asian religions, a conversation on old world cultures through 21st century. So that was the second conference. And I honored my own professors at University of Calgary, Dr. Helen Coward and Dr. Neufeld. An important achievement that we did at UCR was the buying of MacLeod Library. Professor MacLeod was a well-known authority on Sikh tradition, and he had bought every book about the Sikhs and Sikh traditions, and his library had huge number of rare manuscripts, rare books, and so on. So we bought that library for UCR, and we inaugurated that library in 2011. Third international conference was the most important point. It was on dialogues within Sikh studies, texts, practices, and performances. The main purpose of this conference was to explore interdisciplinary approaches resulting from academic inquiries into Sikh texts, as well as practices that surround them and their performances. The dialogues to be explored were made possible by the environment of university, which served as a place where scholars from many fields and disciplines came together to pursue critical inquiries and comparisons. In many ways, the Sikh community has been very supportive of academic inquiries, though at times they have voiced outright criticism. Our hope for this conference was to provide a forum that focused on how academic discussions and those arising in the community at large could complement one another rather than being at odds. This was the first largest conference in which all 8 Sikh Studies Chair holders participated for the first time. We were also able to invite those critics, to present their papers in the conference. And then we have published those papers, selected papers in Sikh formations, encountering Sikh texts, practices, and performances. And then I was handpicked by Oxford University Press UK to prepare this masterpiece in the field of Sikh studies, the Oxford Handbook of Sikh Studies. It has 51 essays by 51 scholars, and it's worth reading. The 4th Sikh Studies Conference was also quite unique on living and making Sikhi in the diaspora. Millennial generation of Sikhs have arrived. So particularly, we arranged dialogues between Sikh scholars and Sikh activists. And you can see Sikh coalition is represented, SALDEF is represented, and Jikara movement. And we had a very fine discussion. This was a very successful conference. And next week, we are organizing the 5th Sikh Studies Conference. It will be on Sikhs and South Asians in the public sphere, precarious minorities, and the new global politics of religion. It's going to take place on May 12th to 13th at the University of California, Riverside. The purpose of this conference will be to analyze the impact of new global politics of religion on minorities' cultures, using Sikhs and South Asians as the primary point of reference. While Sikh and South Asian studies has been relatively slow to register rapidly shifting discourse of religion and the secular, events affecting South Asian minorities in North America, Europe, and India have had tangible ramifications in the areas such as law, society, media, scholarship, and politics, among others, thereby necessitating a new and innovative approaches for analyzing the current precariousness of minorities, for instance, Sikhs and South Asians in North America and Europe, and Sikhs, Christians, Muslims, and Dalits in India. So it's very timely. How do we react to Trump's United States and Brexit, So in this kind of new global situation, we are trying to offer some solutions to the minority status of the Sikh community. Thank you.